The first time she smiled, I thought she had caught me doing something wrong. The second time, she held up my phone with a quiet look that made my heart stop. She had accidentally picked it up from the coffee shop table, where I had left it behind in a rush. Before handing it back, the screen had lit up with a photo I had looked at every single day for almost 5 years. She stared at it for only a moment before asking the one question I never expected to hear. "Can you send it to me?" In that instant, an ordinary afternoon in Portland, Oregon became the beginning of a story that neither of us could have imagined. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, hope, forgiveness, compassion, and the power of second chances, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone you care about, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these meaningful stories reach people who may need a little hope today. My name is Nathan, and at 38 I had learned how to appear happy while quietly carrying grief that never really disappeared. Most people at the architecture firm where I worked believed I was simply focused on my career. They had no idea that every lunch break ended the same way. I opened my phone and looked at one photograph before putting it away again. It was an old picture of my younger sister, Grace, standing beside a handmade wooden bench in front of our childhood church in Ohio. She was laughing so hard that the camera had captured nothing but pure joy. It had been taken only weeks before a sudden illness took her from our family. That single image became the one thing I guarded more carefully than anything else I owned. The woman who returned my phone introduced herself as Rebecca. She worked at the neighborhood bookstore beside the cafe and explained that my phone had begun ringing while I was already halfway down the block. She had picked it up to answer, hoping to tell me where to find it, but the call ended before she could speak. When the screen lit up again, the photograph appeared. Instead of immediately asking about it, she simply returned the phone with gentle eyes. Then, almost shyly, she asked if I could send her that picture someday. I didn't understand why anyone would want a faded family photo of strangers, but something in her expression told me the request came from somewhere much deeper than curiosity. Over the next several weeks, I found excuses to stop by the bookstore. Rebecca never pressured me to explain the picture, and I never asked why she wanted it. We spoke about ordinary things instead. Favorite novels, rainy afternoons, old buildings, coffee that was always too hot. Slowly, conversations became friendship, and friendship became trust. Yet every time I remembered her unusual request, I wondered what she had seen in that photograph that I couldn't. One evening, after helping the bookstore prepare for a community reading event, Rebecca finally shared the reason. Years earlier, her father had built benches for churches and parks throughout Oregon before passing away unexpectedly. The bench in my sister's photograph looked almost identical to one he had built when she was a little girl. Seeing that picture on my phone had transported her back to afternoons, spent sitting beside her father while he sanded fresh wood and talked about leaving kindness behind in places where strangers could rest. She wasn't asking for the photograph because of the people in it. She was asking because it reminded her of the man she missed every single day. For the first time in years, I handed my phone to someone without fear. Together, we studied the picture more carefully. Hidden in the corner was a small brass plaque I had never noticed before. After enlarging the image, we could barely read the faded inscription. It listed the name of the carpenter who had donated the bench. Rebecca's hands trembled as tears quietly filled her eyes. It was her father's name. Neither of us spoke for several minutes. Two strangers had been carrying different kinds of loss for years, connected by a simple photograph that neither of us truly understood until that moment. Instead of reopening old wounds, the discovery somehow made them easier to carry. A week later, we traveled together to Ohio. The church still stood, and so did the weathered bench. We cleaned it, polished the plaque, planted fresh flowers nearby, and sat together as sunlight filtered through the trees. It felt as though two families separated by hundreds of miles had been quietly connected all along. The photograph that once reminded me only of sorrow became a symbol of something much greater. Grace's laughter still lived inside it, but now so did Rebecca's father's generosity. One image had preserved two beautiful legacies without either family ever knowing. I realized healing doesn't always arrive with dramatic miracles. Sometimes it arrives through forgotten photographs, unexpected friendships, and ordinary people willing to care about someone else's memories. Before this story comes to an end, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment and tell us about a photograph or memory that still means the world to you. Your story might encourage someone else who is carrying invisible grief today. Months later, Rebecca framed a restored copy of the picture and placed it inside the bookstore with a small note that read, "The smallest acts of kindness often outlive the people who began them." Every customer who noticed it smiled without knowing the full story, but that was enough. Hope doesn't always need explanations. Sometimes, it only needs a place to quietly live. If this story touched your heart, please consider liking the video, sharing it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribing for more uplifting stories. Thank you for spending these moments with us, and may you never underestimate the life-changing power of one forgotten photograph, one gentle question, and one unexpected act of kindness.